Bella stared out the window of the bustling cafe, watching raindrops race down the glass. The dreary Seattle weather matched her mood perfectly. At 37, she felt stuck in a rut, unfulfilled in her marketing career and unlucky in love after a string of failed relationships. As she sipped her latte, her gaze drifted to a man seated at a corner table, furiously typing on his laptop. His dark curls fell across his forehead as he worked, a look of intense concentration on his handsome face. There was something magnetic about him that Bella couldn't quite place. Just then, he glanced up and their eyes met. Bella felt a jolt of electricity course through her body. The stranger gave her a small smile before returning to his work. Flustered, Bella gathered her things and hurried out of the cafe, chiding herself for acting like a love-struck teenager. Over the next few weeks, Bella found herself returning to that same cafe, hoping to catch another glimpse of the mysterious stranger. But he never reappeared. She tried to push him out of her mind, focusing instead on an exciting new project at work, rebranding a trendy local restaurant. One evening, Bella was working late at the office when her boss popped his head in. "The owner of that restaurant account is here for an impromptu meeting. Can you join us?" Bella nodded, smoothing her hair as she followed him to the conference room. As she entered, her breath caught in her throat. Sitting at the table was none other than the handsome stranger from the cafe. Up close, he was even more striking, with warm brown eyes and a strong jawline. "Bella, this is Mateo Alvarez, owner of Fuego," her boss said. "Mateo, Bella is the creative director heading up your rebranding." Mateo stood and extended his hand, a spark of recognition in his eyes. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Bella. I look forward to working together." As they shook hands, Bella felt that same electric current she'd experienced in the cafe. She struggled to maintain her composure as they discussed the project, hyper-aware of Mateo's presence. His passion for his restaurant was evident as he described his vision. Over the next few weeks, Bella found herself looking forward to their meetings more than she cared to admit. There was an undeniable chemistry between them, but she reminded herself to keep things professional. Still, she couldn't help but notice the way Mateo's eyes lingered on her, or how his hand would occasionally brush against hers. One Friday evening, they were reviewing design mock-ups at Fuego after hours. The restaurant was empty except for them, soft Latin music playing in the background. As Bella gathered her things to leave, Mateo gently touched her arm. "Would you like to stay for dinner? I'd love to get your thoughts on some new menu items I'm considering." Bella hesitated, knowing she should decline. But the hopeful look in Mateo's eyes weakened her resolve. "That sounds lovely," she heard herself say. As they sampled dish after delicious dish, the conversation flowed easily. Bella learned that Mateo had immigrated from Spain as a teenager, working his way up from dishwasher to chef before opening Fuego. His determination and work ethic impressed her deeply. "What about you?" Mateo asked. "What drives you?" Bella paused, realizing no one had asked her that in a long time. "I've always been passionate about helping others tell their stories through design," she said. "But lately I've been feeling a bit stuck." Mateo nodded in understanding. "I felt that way before opening Fuego. Sometimes we need to take risks to reignite that spark." As the evening wore on, Bella found herself opening up more than she had in years. There was something about Mateo that made her feel safe and understood. When he asked her to dance, she didn't hesitate. As they swayed to the music, bodies pressed close, Bella's head was spinning. She knew she was treading into dangerous territory, but she couldn't bring herself to pull away. Mateo's hand on the small of her back sent shivers down her spine. "Bella," he murmured, his breath warm on her ear. "I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since that day in the cafe." Bella's heart raced as she looked up into his smoldering eyes. Slowly, Mateo leaned in and brushed his lips against hers. The kiss was soft at first, then deepened with rising passion. Bella melted into his embrace, all thoughts of professionalism flying out the window. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. "I shouldn't have done that," Mateo said, though he made no move to let her go. "No, we shouldn't have," Bella agreed. But as she gazed into his eyes, she knew there was no going back now. From that night on, Bella and Mateo's relationship blossomed rapidly. They tried to keep things discreet at work, but found it increasingly difficult to hide their feelings. Stolen glances and secret smiles became the norm during meetings. On weekends, they explored Seattle together, discovering hidden gems neither had experienced before. Mateo introduced Bella to the vibrant Latin culture he'd grown up with, taking her salsa dancing and cooking traditional Spanish dishes. In turn, Bella shared her love of art, dragging Mateo to gallery openings and teaching him to paint. For the first time in years, Bella felt truly alive. Mateo challenged her, supported her, and made her laugh like no one else could. She found herself dreaming of a future together, something she'd given up on long ago. But as their relationship deepened, so did Bella's anxiety. She'd been hurt before, and the thought of losing Mateo terrified her. One night, as they lay tangled in sheets after making love, her fears bubbled to the surface. "What are we doing, Mateo?" she whispered. "This can't last. You're my client. If anyone found out..." Mateo propped himself up on an elbow, gazing at her intently. "Is that what you're worried about? Bella, I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm falling in love with you." Bella's breath caught in her throat. "You are?" "Completely," Mateo said, pulling her close. "I've never felt this way about anyone before." As much as Bella wanted to believe him, doubts still nagged at her. "But what about the age difference? I'm 5 years older than you, and our backgrounds are so different. What if..." Mateo silenced her with a kiss. "Age is just a number, and our differences are what make us great together. Stop overthinking and just feel, mi amor." For a while, Bella allowed herself to get lost in the bliss of new love. But as the rebranding project neared completion, reality began to set in. She knew she'd have to disclose their relationship to her boss soon. The thought filled her with dread. One morning, Bella arrived at work to find her boss waiting in her office, a stern expression on his face. Her stomach dropped as he closed the door behind him. "Bella, we need to talk about your relationship with Mateo Alvarez." Bella's mind raced. How had he found out? "Sir, I can explain." He held up a hand to stop her. "Save it. I've known for weeks. Did you really think you could keep it a secret?" Bella's cheeks burned with shame. "I'm so sorry. I know it was unprofessional. It won't happen again." To her surprise, her boss's expression softened. "Bella, you're one of our most valuable employees. I'm not going to fire you over this, but I am going to have to take you off the Fuego account." Relief washed over Bella, followed quickly by panic. "But sir, the project is almost finished. I can't abandon it now." "I'm sorry, but I don't have a choice. We can't risk losing the client if things go south between you two." He paused, studying her face. Unless what? "Unless you end things with Mateo, then you can finish out the project." Bella felt as if she'd been punched in the gut. End things with Mateo? The thought was unbearable, but she'd worked so hard on this rebrand. Could she really walk away now? That evening, Bella met Mateo at Fuego, her stomach in knots. As soon as he saw her face, he knew something was wrong. "Bella, what is it? What happened?" She took a deep breath, fighting back tears. "My boss found out about us. He's taking me off the project unless we break up." Mateo's face fell. "Oh, Bella, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault." "No, it's not," Bella said firmly. "We're both responsible." Mateo took her hands in his. "What do you want to do?" Bella's voice shook as she spoke. "I don't know. This project means so much to me. I've poured my heart and soul into it. But the thought of losing you..." She trailed off, unable to finish. Mateo was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. "I understand if you need to choose your career. I would never ask you to give that up for me." Bella's heart clenched at the pain in his eyes. She knew in that moment that no job was worth losing Mateo. "No," she said. "I choose you. I love you, Mateo." Joy lit up his face as he pulled her into his arms. "I love you too, mi vida. We'll figure this out together." The next few weeks were a whirlwind as Bella transitioned off the Fuego account and helped bring her replacement up to speed. It was bittersweet to say goodbye to a project she'd become so invested in, but every time she looked at Mateo, she knew she'd made the right choice. As they discussed their future, Matteo surprised Bella with an idea. "What if we went into business together?" he suggested. "You could help me expand Fuego into a chain. We'd make an unstoppable team." The more Bella thought about it, the more excited she became. This was the fresh start she'd been craving, a chance to build something meaningful with the man she loved. 6 months later, Bella and Matteo stood hand in hand at the grand opening of their second Fuego location. As she looked around at the beautifully designed space, her vision brought to life, Bella felt a sense of pride and contentment she'd never experienced before. Matteo squeezed her hand, a knowing smile on his face. "Happy?" Bella beamed up at him. "Happier than I've ever been." As they mingled with guests and toasted to their success, Bella marveled at how much her life had changed in such a short time. She'd taken a risk on love, and it had paid off in ways she never could have imagined. Later that night, as they slow danced in the empty restaurant just as they had on that fateful evening months ago, Matteo pulled back to gaze into Bella's eyes. "Marry me," he said softly. Bella's heart soared. "Yes," she whispered. 1,000 times yes." As their lips met in a passionate kiss, Bella knew that this was just the beginning of their adventure together. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as partners, in business and in life. She thought back to that rainy day in the cafe when she'd first laid eyes on Matteo. How could she have known then that a simple glance would lead to such profound change? It just went to show that love could appear when you least expected it, sweeping you off your feet and setting you on an entirely new path. As they swayed together, lost in their own world, Bella silently thanked whatever twist of fate had brought Matteo into her life. She'd always believed that everything happened for a reason. Now she knew with certainty that she and Matteo were meant to find each other. The future stretched out before them, full of possibility and promise. There would be ups and downs, triumphs and setbacks, but as long as they had each other, Bella knew they could weather any storm. In Matteo's arms, she'd found a home she never knew she was searching for. His love had awakened something within her, reigniting dreams and passions she'd long since buried. Together, they would build a life filled with laughter, adventure, and endless love. As the first light of dawn began to filter through the windows, Bella and Matteo finally broke apart. They had a busy day ahead, finalizing plans for their next restaurant opening. But for now, they simply stood forehead to forehead, savoring this perfect moment. "I love you, Bella," Matteo murmured. "Thank you for taking a chance on us." Bella's eyes shone with happy tears. "I love you too, always and forever." Hand in hand, they walked out into the quiet streets of Seattle. The city was just beginning to wake up, full of endless possibilities, and Bella knew that with Matteo by her side, she was ready for whatever adventures lay ahead. As they drove home, Bella couldn't stop smiling. She thought about how different her life had been just a year ago, feeling stuck and unfulfilled, doubting she'd ever find true love. Now here she was, newly engaged to an amazing man and embarking on an exciting new business venture. It just went to show that it was never too late to change your life's trajectory. Sometimes all it took was one moment, one connection, to set everything in motion. Bella was grateful every day that she'd been brave enough to open her heart to Matteo. Of course, their relationship wasn't perfect. They still had disagreements and challenges to work through. But at the core was a deep love and respect that gave them a solid foundation. They brought out the best in each other, pushing one another to grow and evolve. As they pulled into their driveway, Bella's mind was already racing with ideas for their next restaurant. She loved how in sync she and Matteo were, able to bounce concepts back and forth until they created something truly special. "What are you thinking about?" Matteo asked, noticing her faraway expression. Bella smiled. "Just how lucky I am to have found you, and how excited I am for our future together." Matteo leaned over to kiss her softly. "Me too, mi amor. We make a pretty great team." As they walked into their home, hand in hand, Bella felt a sense of contentment wash over her. This was where she belonged. Whatever twists and turns life had in store, she knew that with Matteo by her side, she could handle anything. Their love story was just beginning, with countless chapters yet to be written. but Bella couldn't wait to see where their journey would take them next. As long as they had each other, she knew it would be the adventure of a lifetime.